Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Office Bloke Aidan.
Here we are, Office Bloke Daz Sports Edition. Don't forget to subscribe and like, please. Hit that bell, hit that buzzer. You know what to do. Makes sense.
Hit the buzzer.
Yeah, the buzzer. First on the buzzer. Okay. How the World Baseball Classic changed baseball. Have you watched the World Baseball Classic?
I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I watched it this year.
Why is it called the World Baseball Classic?
Well, I guess they could have the World Cup.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably classifies with the World Series though, doesn't it? Bit of a clash, I think.
Why?
So, I don't know. But it's, I watched the, I think it was held in I want to say some of it was in Japan and some of it was in the USA.
Looking at the background, that looked very Japanese.
Yeah, I think
it looks
might
like it's in Japan.
might have had some of it in Korea, somewhere like that. I know some of it was in Asia, some of it was in the USA. And Britain had a team in it. And I think Britain played the USA.
Get battered?
Yeah, I think it was 7-2, something like that.
Yeah.
I think we were winning 2-0 to the 9th and we just got knackered.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think it was the score 7-2 or something like that. But I don't think we're in it to... I don't think
we're not in it to win it.
I don't think the British, anyway. They might be British from great-great-grandparents, maybe.
I get you.
You know, one of them. Bit like Ireland's football team.
Yeah.
None of them are Irish. Well, apart from Robbie Keane.
Or the French national team.
Yeah, exactly. They're all from Africa.
Yeah.
Parts of Africa. But this is how the World Baseball Classic changed baseball. Let's see.
The 2023 World Baseball Classic had everything. Players became national heroes for countries they're not even from, while others have become some of the most hated people in their country just because of one mistake. It's featured bad blood and beanballs from countries that have been beefing for hundreds of years. It's featured political protests that have caused players to fight back against fans. It's featured a team of school teachers and electricians going up against the greatest player on earth and winning, and literally featured the most watched game in baseball history. But believe it or not, people in America still want this tournament canceled.
It doesn't mean anything. For what? An exhibition tournament because it's something Diaz likes to do? Maybe he likes to play basketball too. Is that a good idea?
Ever since it was created in 2006, America has viewed the World Baseball Classic differently. The first final was watched by 60 million people in Japan. That's more than any World Series in history. When Carlos Ruiz said he wasn't going to play for his home country of Panama, the president of Panama called him and told him to play. So he did. 5 out of 6 players in the Dominican Republic said that winning the WBC was more important than winning the World Series. The other one said they were tied. But in America, when players left spring training to be in the first WBC, the Yankees put a sign in the outfield apologizing to fans, saying they didn't approve of the tournament and told fans they could complain by writing a letter to the commissioner's office. The WBC was created by MLB. The league promotes it and encourages every player to play, but MLB teams hate it because their players are at risk of injury. Typically, MLB teams will do anything they can to prevent players from playing, which has caused America's biggest stars to sit out the tournament year after year, making the WBC gain the reputation in America of just being an exhibition. Unfortunately for teams, this year, all of that changed. It started in a mostly empty stadium in Taiwan, where many fans who watched on TV were pissed about this guy. He was blaring a horn in support of Cuba, which to many people was extremely annoying. To him, it was passion. He's a Cuban superfan who follows the team to almost every Olympic, international, and even junior tournament for the past 17 years. But 48 hours into this tournament, Cuba was basically eliminated, going 0-2. The players apparently blamed the fan, thought he was cursed, and literally did a ritual on him and the horn to undo the curse. This actually worked. The Cubans got hot and faced Taiwan in a game that decided who advanced in front of what may be the most electric crowd you'll ever see. They have cheerleaders, blare music on full blast, and chant the entire game. This is the crowd during a game where they were losing by 8 runs. Their best player, Yu Chang, originally opted not to play to focus on making an MLB roster, but got so much backlash from people in Taiwan, he changed his mind and absolutely went off. He won MVP of the pool, became a hero in Taiwan, and put them in a position to advance with a win against Cuba. Unfortunately for them, despite being outnumbered by thousands, the Cuban superfan powered Cuba to dominate Taiwan and move on to the next round. But even though they were eliminated, the crowd continued doing chants well after the game ended. Cuba moved on to the next round in Japan, where the story was, you guessed it, Japan. In America, it's hard to understand the magnitude and cultural significance.
It's huge in Japan baseball, isn't it?
I didn't really know that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Well, they got Shohei Ohtani now as well.
Last one, yeah.
So in the fight, in the final, he pitched against Trout, and they're both in the same team for the Angels, aren't they? But I kind of get the pushback of clubs not wanting their players to go to a World Series or not a World Series, a World Classic or a World Cup. We have the same sort of opinion when we have the Euros or this new what's that new tournament they call now, the Cup of Nations League. Nations League, is it? And I'm like I hope not. We don't send anyone from City. I'm like, I just hope they block it. You know, when friendlies.
Yeah, but
it's taken over from friendlies.
That's all right because it's like the third international tournament that's been brought in.
Yeah.
That we've already got the World Cup, we've already got the Euros. So if they don't do this, then like you're not going to have countries ever playing against each other.
No, but the amount of times we play teams like Spain or Portugal or Germany is very little, minimal. We very rarely play them because we've only ever played them before in like friendlies or at tournaments, and we don't always meet in the tournaments.
Yeah.
So I think so you don't always get to play our games. Sometimes in these qualifiers or in the Euro leagues and things like that, we're playing against like it'd be like England against San Marino, and then you're playing your best players to possibly pick up an injury. You don't want that, and that's what they're saying here. It's like sending players. You're playing against some of the top American players. Even they don't even have to be American. It's the club that don't want them to go. So it's say for instance, I don't know, the New York Yankees don't want someone to go from their team to go and play against. He might be Puerto Rican. Going to represent Puerto Rico against Cuba, the nice thing is pointless. None of them are going to win the Classic, and they're going to go down there. They're travelling.
It's not about injury. That though. It's not about that. Like you're not going to say don't go and don't play because you're not going to win it.
Well,
sometimes it's people. But like there's players and teams that go into the World Cup in football knowing they're not going to win it, but
it's the experience of playing.
It's a dream to play in that tournament, not even to win.
But if let's say for instance you're a mega star for the New York Yankees, right? But your country is like Taiwan, right?
Right.
Taiwan not going to win the World Classic, but you're a mega star at the Yankees. Your money is being earned at the Yankees, and the Yankees saying to you, "Listen, I don't want you to go really because you might face injury, and if we lose you, then you might lose money or a contract at the Yankees." And then it's a big decision to make. That's what I think they're getting at. And I agree. I kind of agree with that a little bit. But at the same time, the fans want to see a world competition where countries are playing against each other. The best, like I say, I've seen people who play for like Wales. Ryan Giggs, for example, George Best for Northern Ireland, never went to a World Cup.
I know, but can you imagine if like one of them, or if like
Erling Haaland may never go to a World Cup.
No, I know, but can you imagine if Erling Haaland just said, "I'm not going to play for Norway because what's the point? I'm never going to win anything."
But people
you
won't
won't do that. You don't.
No,
it's the passion that you have for your own country, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, it's the passion you have for your club as well, where you're making money. It's not the person that doesn't necessarily want to go. It's the club that's telling them, "Don't go." Yeah, and I have the same feeling. When trust me, if England, if Norway are playing Panama in a friendly, would you want Erling Haaland to play knowing that we've got the FA Cup final the following week?
But he never plays for his country with an FA Cup final the following week.
But would you if that's the case? You wouldn't want him to go, would you?
If he came back fit, then it's completely fine.
Yeah.
This team is having on their country. The talent on the roster is unlike anything Japan's ever seen. They're widely considered the best Japanese team of all time. They're essentially the Bulls in the 90s, the 2004 Red Sox, or the 1927 Yankees, but instead of representing a single city, they represent the entire country. An insane 36 million people watched them play in an exhibition game leading up to the tournament. Ohtani himself gained 2 million followers on Instagram in the past month alone. Lars Nootbaar is a rookie on the Cardinals. In America, he's relatively unknown. In Japan, he's become an overnight celebrity. Nootbaar is from California, but his mother is Japanese. Growing up, several Japanese high school players stayed with their family when they played in a tournament in California. One of these players ended up being Masahiro Tanaka. From this point on, his dream was to play for Japan.
Konnichiwa. My name's Lars Nootbaar. hope I do good during All-Stars and I'm going to represent my country for Japan.
15 years later, he is getting that chance and became the first non-Japanese player to ever play on the national team. There was paparazzi waiting for him when he arrived in Japan. He introduced them to his signature pepper grinder celebration, which has become so popular that pepper grinder sales in Japan have literally skyrocketed. New Bar has gone off for Japan, leading them to sweet pool play, where each one of these games was watched by over an insane 40% of the country, making this tournament more popular in Japan than the World Cup was. Their game against Korea was watched by an estimated 55+ million people in Japan alone. And once again...
Are you trying to take that sort of stuff away?
I'm not trying to take it away. I'm saying I understand where they're coming from. I'd love to see... I love it when these world tournaments... I watch all world tournaments if I can.
Yeah, you can't just look at it from an American's point of view.
No,
do you know what I mean?
I agree with you, but I'm looking at it from a club perspective as a business and saying I can understand why the clubs wouldn't want players to go.
Yeah, but it's not right. It's not right to tell them to not go.
I'm just saying I'm looking at it as a neutral. As I get their understanding of saying I would rather you not go because you might put us out of business. It might cost us the World Series if you're injured.
Yeah, but it might cost him the World Classic.
Maybe. Japan's different. Japan's top baseball nation at the moment, probably, or one of them anyway.
Yeah, if you're Japanese, you 100%. If you're making like almost 50% of your country watch this, there's no way that the best players aren't going to go and try and.
No, because when you in Asia, you know what it's like in Asia. You've been to Asia many times. You know what it's like where you've lived in Asia. But when you look at it and you see how people are lauded for being successful and doing stuff in Asia. You look at Sun Yong-min from Korea. Look how he is. He's like probably more famous than the bloody prime minister or president, whatever they have over there.
Yeah. And
it's the same as in Japan. People like Shohei Ohtani now will be more famous and more popular than the bloody emperor of Japan. Whoever holds the big post over there, stop that, right? So it's one of them where it's in Asia you're lauded on a massive scale. You're all of a sudden you're a mega star. All you have to do is look at the J-pop bands and the K-pop bands.
Yeah.
You look at BTS and people like that. They're huge over there, right? They're worshipped right across the board because that's what they want. They want someone on the global stage who can represent their country, and that's why I get it with people like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, places like that. I 100% understand it, but I understand it again if it's Panama or if it's Puerto Rico or Cuba, whoever it may be. I get representing your country. I'd love to represent my country in whatever. The only thing I would probably represent my country at now is like the Munich Oktoberfest, drinking beer, right? It's probably the closest I'm going to get, or darts maybe. But that's what it is. But this is in Japan and places like Japan, Korea, and Asia Pacific. And on there, it's huge, humongous.
Again, this rivalry got ugly. The first two World Baseball Classics were dominated by these two countries. Their games resulted in Japanese players getting intentionally hit, Korean players trolling Ichiro in relation to comments he made about Korea, and Korea literally planting a flag on the mound as Ichiro looked on in complete rage. Leading up to this tournament, a Korean player said Ohtani was so good, he might just hit him with a pitch, later clarifying this was a compliment disguised as a joke. But Japanese media took this as a direct threat, and on a 3-0 count, a ball came directly at Ohtani. He couldn't help but think he was being targeted, and earlier in the game, Lars Nootbaar was also hit by a pitch, taking obvious exception to it. Japan thought they were being thrown at. For Korea, that's really all they could do. They lost 13-4, and for Korea, things got even worse. Baseball in Korea is in complete disarray at the moment at what people in the country are calling the biggest embarrassment in the team's history. This all started in 2021 during the Olympics. After a disappointing performance, the broadcast caught their first baseman, Kang Bak-ho, on the bench chewing gum and looking disinterested. Losing was so embarrassing for Korea, this was seen as a massive scandal and became national news. So leading up to the WBC, Korea and Kang Bak-ho were determined to fix their image. However, in their first game, they fell behind and needed a rally, and in the 7th, when his team needed him most, Kang Bak-ho hit a clutch double, celebrated, came off the bag by an inch, and was called out. The next batter got a hit, which would have scored the tying run, and since Korea only ended up losing by a single run, this was the difference. And to make matters worse, they ended up losing the tournament by a single game, meaning that this inch might have literally cost them the tournament. Japan, on the other hand, marched through pool play without competition. In fact, their biggest competition might have been a team that was literally made up of electricians. Czech Republic is a team of amateurs who play in their home country, a country where baseball was literally banned by the government until the 60s. After the fall of the communist government, baseball was allowed to blossom, and finally, in 2023, they earned a right to play in the WBC for the first time ever. Their manager is a neurologist, their center fielder is a high school geography teacher, their third baseman is a financial analyst, and their starting pitcher is an electrician. He faced Roki Sasaki, probably the best pitcher in Japan, who almost pitched back-to-back perfect games and throws up to 102 miles per hour. Andrej Satoria, the electrician on Czech Republic's fastest pitch, was 79 miles per hour. Despite the insane odds against him, he came out in the first and struck out the first two batters of the game, got out of a jam in the second, then in the third, while protecting a 1-0 lead, struck out Shohei Ohtani on 3 straight pitches. Japan still ended up blowing them out 10-2. On the other side of the bracket in America, things were a lot more competitive. Team USA was a massive favorite in their pool. They faced Mexico in their second game. The first batter, Randy Arozarena, came up to the plate. As a friendly gesture, he tried to shake catcher Will Smith's hand. He refused. Arozarena then went off for 2 doubles and 3 RBIs.
Will Smith, you should have slapped him.
Yeah. He's not Mexican, is he?
Why?
He doesn't look Mexican.
I don't know. I don't know who he is. What was his name? But I think that not shaking hands bit is a little bit, what's it? But going back to what we were saying before about once in a lifetime opportunities, this pitcher from the Czech Republic has struck out Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's an electrician.
He's going to live that. He's going to live with that in his head forever. You know, he's going to dine out on that forever.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani.
See how happy the bench looked.
Shohei Ohtani struck him out.
Yeah.
Like, no, you didn't. Watch. Get your phone out. Look at this. That's me.
Yeah. Literally.
Yep.
Then in the third, while protecting a 1-0 lead, struck out Shohei Ohtani on 3 straight pitches. Japan still ended up blowing them out 10-2. On the other side of the bracket in America, things were a lot more competitive. Team USA was a massive favorite in their pool. They faced Mexico in their second game. The first batter, Randy Arozarena, came up to the plate. As a friendly gesture, he tried to shake catcher Will Smith's hand. He refused. Arozarena then went off for 2 doubles and 3 RBIs in an absolute blowout against Team USA. Since then, he's become MVP of the tourney, leading Mexico further than they have in their history. But less than a year ago, he wasn't even Mexican. He's become beloved for warming up in cowboy boots, wearing a luchador mask in the dugout, and literally signing balls and massive baseball gloves in the middle of the games. Arozarena is from Cuba, but after earning less than $40 a month at the highest level of baseball, he decided to defect. He ended up in Mexico, where he had to borrow other players' gloves and cleats while trying out for teams because that's how little money he had. From there, he signed an MLB contract and has produced an MLB ever since he arrived. Every offseason, he returns to Mexico, where he now lives. He's been trying to complete the long process of becoming a citizen for years, but in 2021, he went on Instagram and asked the president directly, saying if he allows him to become a Mexican national, he promises he would play for Mexico in the WBC. And the president agreed. Arozarena was nationalized within a few months, and less than a year later, he's on Team Mexico. The World Baseball Classic was so important to them, the president of the country literally made a player a citizen just so he could play for the team. In America, the opposite was true. Only 1 out of the top 20 American-born pitchers decided to play. The ones who did pitch were under orders from their clubs not to pitch too many innings to risk injury, but pitch enough innings to be ready for the season. So instead of strategically using pitchers in a way that gave them the best chance to win, Team USA had to waste some of their best pitchers in the blowout, causing backlash from fans and the media, saying not only do our best pitchers not play, the ones who do aren't even allowed to try their hardest. So what's the point of even having a tournament? Some even calling the tournament a glorified exhibition. In the Dominican Republic, 5 of their top 10 pitchers were participating, with a lineup that was considered by many the best of all time. And in an elimination game, they squared off against Puerto Rico in one of the most electric games ever seen. Puerto Rico was a massive underdog, but after a solo home run from Christian Vasquez, as well as an inside-the-park home run from Francisco Lindor, the underdogs felt they had a chance. The crowd had the energy of a Winter League game, but in a sold-out 36,000-person stadium. Puerto Rico was able to hold off the Dominican Republic's offense and brought in the best closer in the world to close them out in the 9th. The crowd went absolutely crazy. He struck out Ketel Marte, then struck out Gene Sakura, and pumped up the crowd even further. Then he struck out Teoscar Hernandez, pulling off one of the biggest upsets in the country's history, a game that was watched by an insane 61% of the homes in Puerto Rico. But just when everything was going right, Edwin Diaz went down with a knee injury during the celebration. After the game, it was discovered he would miss the rest of the season, and the entire baseball world collectively lost their minds.
Let's get one thing clear: nobody gives a about the World Baseball Classic.
Fans and media in America started questioning the WBC.
This result is unacceptable. It doesn't mean anything. For what? An exhibition tournament because it's something Diaz likes to do?
Pool play alone had an attendance over 1 million fans, a 98% increase from the last WBC. America saw a 40% increase in TV ratings from pool play in the following tournament, but some fans in America still wanted the tournament gone. And to make matters worse, while this storm was happening, Team USA was in the middle of losing an elimination game, a defeat that would crush the excitement of the tournament in America even further. But just when nothing looked like it could go right, Mike Trout came through, got USA the lead, and brought them to the next round. Reports came out that Team USA was changing their philosophy. The team scrambled to call major league clubs, asking them to relax the restrictions on their pitchers. Teams had previously told USA that if their pitcher warmed up in the bullpen, they had to come into the game, because warming up multiple times could increase injury risk. Team USA's pitchers told their coaches to ignore the instructions from their major league teams. And despite the negativity surrounding the tournament, multiple players told reporters that these games were some of the most fun and important games in their entire lives. And what followed was absolutely insane. In the quarterfinal, USA faced Venezuela. They immediately went off, scoring 3 runs without getting a single out. After, Venezuela fought back, and America's worst nightmare came true. Their pitching collapsed. Daniel Bard entered the game, hit 2 batters, walked another, and allowed a run without getting a single out. Venezuela went up by 2, and just when it looked like Team USA was done for good, Trey Turner did this.
The 0-2 to Turner, and he throws this one deep left field. Trey Turner.
In what may be the biggest WBC home run to date, he secured Team USA's spot in the semis, where they trashed Cuba in a blowout. They waited for the result between Japan and Mexico, and once again, the underdog surprised everyone. Mexico rallied behind a 3-run homer, and when it looked like Japan could come back, Randy Arozarena made the catch of the tournament, silencing the Japanese. Eventually, Japan did come back, tying the game. But Mexico immediately took the lead again and only needed 3 outs to end Japan's legendary team for good. But after a leadoff double by Shohei Ohtani, Munetaka Murakami hit a ball that will go down in Japanese history. Japan's quarterfinal game was watched by 62.5 million people in Japan alone. According to Forbes, that's 7 million more viewers than the most watched World Series ever. In all likelihood, this game against Mexico was watched by even more, and by securing a championship against USA, setting up a matchup between Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, it was pretty much guaranteed that the final would be the most watched baseball game ever. Right off the bat, USA struck first. Japan responded with a home run themselves, then tacked on another. They held a 3-1 lead for most of the game, but after an absolute bomb by Kyle Schwarber, USA was back in the game. As the ninth inning approached, Shohei Ohtani warmed up to close out the game in what would be the perfect ending for Japan. And after recording the first 2 outs, his teammate, Mike Trout, came to the plate. And in an ending that you couldn't have scripted any better, on a 3-2 count.
I'm swinging. Good that.
Yeah, I kind of like when all these people are saying like on like when he flashes like the podcast people and they're like saying like get rid of it, like, and then there's another clip like no one actually cares about this. No, it's not no one cares. It's just Americans don't care.
They're trying to protect the league. I really do get it. And you see the Mets fan there going on about Diaz injuring his knee and being out for the season, right? He's a Mets fan, and now their best closer, one of the best closers in the game, is missing for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mets have got bigger problems than that anyway.
Well, if you look at it statistically, the bloody World Baseball Classic's bigger than the Major League Baseball.
Bigger than
it
the
gets bigger audience.
Bigger than the World Series, yeah.
It gets a bigger audience.
Yes, it does. And it's one of them where I think when I watch international, that's why I love the Olympics so much. I watch the Olympics because people have trained for years to come and compete at a level with the rest of the world, and they want to take on the best in the world. And that's the way I see things like the Baseball Classic, the way I see the World Cup, the way I see the Euros, and I don't get as excited with the Euros as I do with the World Cup, because the World Cup's just you're competing against everyone in the world. Like there's no. I love it when you see a game and you're up at. It could be in somewhere, I don't know, when it was in South Korea, you're up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're watching Kenya against Saudi Arabia, sort of thing. You're like, so it's great.
Yeah.
You're buzzing off it, and you recognise one player from each team, and that's it. And the standard of football is rubbish. And you might be doing that with baseball. You might be watching, Panama against. I keep saying Panama. I don't know why. You might be watching Panama against Taiwan, and you might think, and one player, and you go, oh, that's him from the Cardinals, or that's him from the, and you'll recognise someone from there, and you'll go, oh, I want to see him come back again, see how he does against other pitchers.
Yeah.
This guy's pitching for Czech Republic. He's pitching 79 miles an hour. It's not that fast considering when you do a fastball. His fastball was 79, and you got the Japanese guy throwing at 101, sort of thing. And it's one of them where you look at it, and I think when you're competing with the rest of the world at sports, you've got to sort of like, you can't just say it doesn't work for us. But I see where they're coming from with defending the clubs.
Yeah,
I 100% get that.
I understand that when you're defending it. It's just almost like a little bit selfish.
But there's a lot of money at stake. These clubs are looking at it from a financial perspective.
I know, but like for them.
Diaz may take the Mets. Diaz may be able to take the Mets to the World Series. Doubt it as a closer.
Yeah, they're only thinking about, and then like you might go win for what was it, Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, yeah.
Might go and win Puerto Rico, and millions of people are like the happiest they've ever been, and like won something they never thought they'd won. And
I'm with you on that. I look at it from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
I want to watch the best in the world play against the best in the world. That's why we follow the Premier League so much. It's the best players in the world coming to play football.
The crowd looks a lot better in that as well than Major League Baseball.
Yeah, but it's only once every however many years. I don't know how often it is. The World Baseball Classic. I don't think it's every year. Was it every 3 years? Did it say? Every 4?
Normally it's every 4, isn't it?
Yeah, for world stuff like that. But I think I'm one of them where I'm for it. I think it's great to watch the best people in the world playing against the best people in the world representing their country.
100%.
That's why I like World Cup. And the World Cup in football, and I don't want to change it away from baseball and compare anything, but the World Cup in football's got to change its qualification rules, because you can't have teams competing in there who are naff, who never got any chance of winning it. Let them compete, but we need teams in there like Italy wasn't in the last one. Teams like Italy need to be in them tournaments because they've got great teams, but the qualifying structure is more difficult for Italy to qualify than some of the other countries who might be good in just their region.
Because there's better countries in Europe than there is in Asia.
Correct. Yeah. but they are getting better in different countries. But you need these certain countries from South America that wasn't at the World Cup. And I'm like, why are they not there? They should be there. If that's the case, expand it, which they're going to expand it. But also change the qualifying criteria. You know, so that you've got the best teams who are qualifying against other teams to get there. And let's see who the best are going to compete with the best. But represent your country's big.
Yeah.
Any sport.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
what I would.
Look what he's doing for the Japanese.
That's
the Koreans.
That's the main reason why I would 100%. That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Keep it in.
Yeah.
And let anyone who wants to play.
Yeah.
That's just my
same. But let us know in the comments what you think about it. Are you not happy about it because it affects your players? They're not for your club, or are you just not happy about it because the USA didn't win?
Yeah.
If we don't win it, we're not playing. Let's get our ball back.
Yeah.
You know, one of them sort of thing. But they were in the final. Anyway, but let us know what your thoughts are on that as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.